That was a gun.
I'm not voting.
If we want to build our nation.
The problem with the Somalians.
Just want to experience something else than a black man.
Move on, move
Can't be like a horse with blinkers on.
Honestly say, I was about to have sex and then I pulled
crap,
up.
but it's nice.
My name is Linda Titus. I am a film production manager working in documentaries.
Nokubonga Yawa. Well, I'm wearing so many hats, but today I'm just an activist.
I'm Khumuso Matsunyane and I'm a loudmouth.
Our children, they need to learn about the history of South Africa. And a lot of people, they're learning about history of South Africa. And history of South Africa is apartheid, you know? So there's no way you can just say, okay, let's just forget about apartheid. It's there. And some of the things that we're still fighting for today, were there back then. For example, the quality of education, the state of education today. Whenever I think about it, it reminds me of the days back then, even though I wasn't there, but learning about the history of South Africa, it reminds me, like, okay, it tells me that I shouldn't stop fighting. The youth of 1976 did it for us, and now it's our turn, it's our chance to take where they left and continue the struggle.
A couple of weeks ago, I interviewed somebody who had survived in Nazi Germany as a child, and it was on the big Jewish Memorial Day, and I remember feeling so jealous that, you know, these guys are organized. They every year we commemorate that horrible incident that happens. It's given the respect. Nobody comes out and says, oh, you know, nobody should be able to do that. And so I kind of feel like we're nowhere close to being. First of all, nobody can tell you to move on. It's something that you have to work on, and we're trying. And if anybody has been so generous in this country and tried to just kind of ignore the fact that there were still so many disadvantages for the vast majority of black people in this country, then you can't tell people to move on. How can you tell people to move on when this side of town is still white and that side of town on the other side of mountain is black and that other side with Cape Town is colored? You know, it becomes even more interesting. So no, of course we can't move on. Should we use it as an excuse to not perform? Absolutely not. But I find it ridiculous that we're kind of told that it's one or the other. Either you move on or you're that person who's being stuck in apartheid and can't come up with another excuse why things are not working.
For me, it's, in order to move on, you need to have dealt with what it is that happened. And I'm glad you brought up the Holocaust and Nazi Germany, because no one ever seems to want to utter those words in that context, although it's pretty much the same thing, you know. But also to say move on, it's a very simplistic solution to a very complex issue.
And
rude and dismissive.
Very dismissive.
And insensitive.
And insulting.
Yeah, exactly.
So we don't like it.
No, we don't like it at all. Well, it's also about what does moving on actually mean. You know, when you're telling me to move on.
Me about
exactly.
our history because it embarrasses me.
Exactly.
That's what I take it to
So
be.
it's not a solution.
No.
It's just a matter of
I don't want to talk
under
about
the carpet.
Yes. I'm bored of talking about
this. It's like
this.
those dirty family secrets.
Literally, yeah.
Right.
Exactly. The pink elephant in the room.
Exactly.
That nobody wants to
Wearing
talk about.
Wearing a pink tutu.
Yeah, essentially. Yeah. One of those. So yeah, there's the people that are asking for people to move on, I think for the most part, just don't want to take responsibility and feel judged, I suppose.
Yeah.
They feel judged by the fact that every time you bring it up, they take it as if you're talking about them, which you may or may not be. But I don't understand, why do they have to take it so personally? If I tell you that Cape Town is racist, why do I get the premier of the province saying, oh no, we're not?
Sometimes I do feel a little sorry for white people, especially in my age group and lower, is that they're talking about it without any context. They're pretty ignorant. I mean, when you start hearing what it is they know, it's like they know the convenient media highlighted events, which forms their entire knowledge of what had happened. But I mean, even as an 80s kid, I have memories. I have memories of tear gas. I have memories because I had my parents there. I had my brother. I had my older siblings and everything else. And they don't seem to quite be able to grasp it because of the lack of information that's being passed down to them, I guess, to protect them, which is, understandable. But I think a lot of it needs for many people to start re-educating themselves about what it was, what it means, and how it's still here.
We'll never ever get over the color. As long as at work we have the same qualifications, but I get paid less.
Yeah.
When you, Khomoto, as a white person, you get paid more.
Just call me white. She's so good.
I hope this is role playing we're doing.
Baby, I'm seeing white in you.
I mean, really, how? Just because I'm the eldest here, this is not right.
And sometimes I feel like when I'm sitting at home looking at my daughter, she goes to I would say a good school in Woodstock, and I can afford to pay for education, and she start undermining other children in the community who can speak English. She comes back to school, she speaks English with them, and I'm like, I wish I could take her and sit her here and buy her the long walk to freedom and say, here, read this book. Then you would understand why I'm like this. I love isiXhosa, and I'm very sensitive when it comes to someone who will speak isiXhosa in a wrong way. I'll say, no, you are black, you're supposed to speak like this. How can you be perfect on the other language, whereas you can't speak your own language? First speak your own language, and then you can say, okay, now I'm proud of being the so-called coconut.
Only black people acknowledge our racism, actually.
True.
White people, they're the ones who always talk with the rubbish about, I don't see color. What garbage is that? I see you, I see your color first. I don't see a beautiful person. I see your color first, whatever it is, whether you're colored or Indian, boom. Yeah. So how do you look at me and say, like, you don't see me? It's like saying, oh, I don't see that you're 4'10", really, nobody can tell that I'm short here. Like, then there's a problem. I'm bored with the conversation. I'm glad Trevor Manuel brought it up, because he really obviously lit a match under people's fires, and people are still very sore. And I think ultimately what he was saying, though, is that the present government cannot continue to use the excuse for non-delivery and blame that on apartheid, which I actually agree with. To say
100%.
you cannot, you did not do your job. Don't tell me about Foster. You and Dimotega did not do your job, and you did not deliver schools last year, not in 1976. That's a different time, right? But understanding the context of what happened in 76, you did not deliver.
And in fact, you should feel more ashamed for not delivering because of apartheid.
Yes.
That's what should be.
Because you said you were going to do better.
You should be feeling ashamed.
Right.
Yeah.
I completely agree. You should be feeling very
You
ashamed.
should be feeling
because
very
you know
ashamed.
how humiliating it is
Yes.
for children not to have a proper education. And that means that South Africa will never be a just society. Never.
Or a progressive one.
Or progressive, it means our children will be on a certain LSM. It's going to be about class. So it won't matter, actually. Race won't matter in the end. If
we
people
are
are
entering a class
all black,
situation.
we're already
there.
We're already there. Our school system. Do you know that when a child, the first 2 years of a child's life, 80%, including in vitro, 80% of their brain is formed. So imagine if your parents are not having the right diet, and if you're not stimulated intellectually at home, it doesn't matter who you will never succeed as much as the person whose mother was drinking milk and supplements that olive oil and all this good stuff that was so lovely, and who knows how to stimulate their child for early childhood development.
The lesson that's being taught is be a tenderpreneur, know the right people, bullshit your way through, whatever the job you're supposed to do, make your millions, drive your 4x4, whatever it is, and that's what makes you successful. I mean, we're not very far away from a society like America that values fame over proper success.
That we're emulating America.
That we're emulating, exactly.
It's one of those things that I think like the difference never really goes away. We're nowhere close to having achieved anything actually. Economically, I think that's when we're most exposed. I think our education levels, if they continue the way that they are right now. And we haven't had a massive action You know,
No one's had a vent out.
no,
No one's vented.
nobody's land has been really taken
Yeah.
from them. Nobody, everybody's been nice. Please, some belief bus.
Yeah.
Ganons back our land
Willing
poor
seller,
fanjo,
come
some
on.
belief talk.
Yeah.
They do it, and sometimes they do, sometimes they don't, right? We think we've moved on, but that's because we can sit in a suburb where white people are sitting, right? Because we're the minority, so we've arrived, so to speak. We've arrived, but where's everybody else? We're like a tiny percentage of the population. Most black South Africans cannot feed themselves. Never mind go out and enjoy the luxuries of whatever. And how do you know that you have money if you're or that you're free if you don't have money? How do you express your freedom if you don't have money? You can't. Because everything is money. Even your education, although technically you have a right to a free education, the reality is technically the Constitution kind of guarantees it. But our execution, that's why I was talking earlier about the execution, it's so nasty that really we know that Minister, you're doing a really bad job if you must we're still trying. And because those are facts. The fact that those things didn't exist before, and that particular government was only working for the minority, so it was a much easier country to govern.
manage, yeah.
It was an easier country to govern. You don't care about the black people; they must go after hours to their townships. I mean, that's some hectic mind stuff. I'm more worried about the mind. What happens? The dream deferred almost. What happens to the dream deferred? These people are being left behind. Not enough of us are being able to have access to the things that we need access to.
We programmed into that thinking of just getting ahead. There's no sense of community that's ingrained in whatever's going on right now. So hence why there's only a small minority that's arrived, because everyone's just scrambling. We're like crabs in a barrel right now.
Grab what you can.
Grab what you can, get ahead. I remember when the whole Dalai Lama saga was happening, and I was seeing on the social networks people going, Dalai Lama must wait, Safuni Mali ase China. And I was just like, what kind of mentality is that? So I think it's going to take a while.
Because what you're describing is almost like the pseudo socialism that, if you were a supporter of the ANC in the sort of 60s and 70s, might have been possible, or that you were thinking because of the alignment at the time, that you think, I don't know how. I think what you're talking about is getting back to caring more than just about you and your family. It's about raising children as if they're being raised by a village, and understanding that what happens to you as my sister is just as bad as it's happening to me.
But and it's not just me being idealistic, in terms of we should all try help one another.
Right?
I'm not trying to hold hands and sing kumbaya, but at the end of the day, we've seen it happen in certain societies and ethnic groups and whatever. Is that once you stick together, you're able to make it circulate and more sustainable within whatever groups or ethnicities or whatever it is you come with. Just this whole man being an island thing isn't sustainable. And if people could just think a little beyond it, maybe it's still early days, maybe I am being idealistic and expecting people to think that way now, but eventually it needs to get to that place, because
I think this is the time to be thinking about it,
Yeah.
actually. So I wouldn't say it's being idealistic. I think we've lost the plot.
we've lost the plot.
Yeah, we've certainly lost the plot.
My dream is to see or have my grandchildren growing up in a free country where they don't have to worry about their hair, they don't have to worry about their skin, not feeling ashamed to speak their own language.
My dream is not to have to explain myself over what I physically am.
My dream is to live in a country that celebrates all excellence, regardless of the package it comes in, and to have a government that has enough thick skin to withstand criticism that comes from a good place.
Z. You should ever sit and talk with people, or else take a walk and create a straight talk. Talk what is nice, it will make you feel stronger. Listen what is right and say what is wrong. You should ever sit and talk with people, or else take a walk and create a straight talk. Talk what is nice, it will make you feel stronger. Listen what is right and say what is wrong.